And I want to talk about the structure for your day for success. And I know we talk about this often on the show, getting your water and getting out of bed in the morning, not hitting the snooze, et cetera, et cetera. But as we've been learning during Center Stage, it's not so much what time you start your day, whether it's 4 a.m. or whether it's, 7:30, 8 a.m. like Konecki does. What we're learning is it's really about how you can make the most out of your energy and focus without sacrificing what matters most. Michael, you're a runner. You like to get up and get your running in, your marathons, your half marathon running. Michael, talk about how you structure your day to optimize success. So you don't get up at 4. You get your day started a little bit earlier. You got a young son who you have for school. You got a successful wife who's a doctor. Michael Konecki, how do you structure your day to optimize success for you, knowing it doesn't start at 4 a.m.? Michael.
You know what? I can't even say that it's optimized. I would say that it's almost like survival in a sense, because you have a 4-year-old who is basically running around doing whatever, so trying to get him to sleep and trying to wake him up. This morning, for instance, was a nightmare because I basically shifted him completely. Usually I wake up to coordinate with him. So he's getting up at 8 to get to school tonight. I'm like, all right, I usually get up at 6 o'clock, and I'll just say, you know what? I can't think straight. I'm going to go and do a 3-4 mile walk while thinking. I'm also doing probably the most difficult thing in the world. If you guys want to try something, and I'll challenge you, you want to do something, I'll switch your calendar and mine. I'll do your workouts and your 4 a.m. workouts, and you guys go on LinkedIn and post twice a day, every day for a year. Original content, no AI. And then I want you to come back in a year and tell me what you'd rather do, workout or post twice a day and then engage with the people. And honestly,
bro, I've posted a day, not LinkedIn, but I posted twice a day for probably close to a decade, man. I got that covered, bro.
Here's automatic.
Wait. Posting.
I've been posting on Instagram that whole time. I've been posting on YouTube that whole time.
I'm Instagram and YouTube as well.
So there's a little difference between those two things in LinkedIn. Where you post on Instagram, it's like you're posting knowledge and you let it go, right? You post on LinkedIn, you get other human beings immediately engaging with you, which means 100 comments, interactions per day. So what that does is it takes up your whole day of actually engaging with those commentaries. So it's not just the posting part. That's easy.
Oh, I got you. You got to talk to the people that are coming in. It's not just
that's
the job.
So here's the problem. You can't schedule it, because if you want to be really truly engaged on this platform, unlike any other, if stuff comes in, and I'm one of those people I'm not going to do it tomorrow, because you know what'll happen is tomorrow I'll say, screw it, I'll do it. Like today, I'm looking at the people
doing it right now. I'm with you, brother. I'm taking a piss responding to people. I'm taking a dump responding.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. I'm responding.
So that's my calendar. That's my calendar. I can't. There's no way to plan this, because human beings, you can't plan when they respond, right? So my day.
But what you plan is you're going to do that shit around the clock when you're awake. That's what you plan.
That's what I mean. So what that does is, because I'm doing that around the clock, all the other things now are getting stacked. Okay, I'm going to do this. Damn, now you go back to something else. So LinkedIn, to me, has actually, a year ago, I wasn't doing it like this. I was recruiting. My day was very structured. LinkedIn, with human engagement and interaction, it has completely blown my schedule to shreds. It's impossible to plan anything. I have people reaching out to me going, oh, that's great, let's talk. And then great, back to conversation. So LinkedIn has become, while how great it is, that there's going to be, I'm telling you, there's going to be like mental health clinics for people to check themselves in because they're on LinkedIn too much.
And brother, I love
I'll be the first one.
Real quick, on that level, that's one of the things that I take pride in. I'll do the shit that you won't. I'm not talking about you personally, brother, but that's my philosophy. I'll do the shit that other people won't. And if doing what you're describing is part of that, then I make it happen. And when you make it happen long enough, it becomes automatic. And when it's automatic, you're not really thinking about it consciously. It's subconscious, and then you've got your conscious effort for everything else.
You're absolutely right. And that's the part that I think a lot of people don't want to do. Not only just that exercise, you want it to do it long enough where you, like you guys said, how do you eliminate thinking in the morning? You do it long enough where it's no longer a thought and it's just a habit. And it's a habit. And but there's another level. From a habit, it becomes not even a habit anymore. It almost becomes a natural motion. It's almost
system.
like, right?
It turns into a life system.
Well, instinct, right? What above habit is instinct, right? Like I always find myself, like I'm in the shower and I always do these crazy things, and I'm in the shower, so I wouldn't, but I do these things where I'm like doing something and 3 things fly up and I catch them all. I'm like, I wish somebody was recording this. And then I'm like, but I'm in the shower. No, I don't. But like those instincts of catching random things without thinking about it. And I posted about it the other day, and you guys tell me, is it okay to just do and not think when there's an instinct, or should you always slow down, think, qualify, quantify, and then act. And so I'm thinking like some of the things we're talking about are difficult because they're not even habitual, but you want to get them like Marty and John. I know for a fact for you, working out isn't a habit. It's now an instinct. You're above the habit part. The habit part is like one way or another, it can be broken. An instinct is part of who you are and it just exists. And that's the part
your terminology for instinct, I think, is my terminology for a life system.
Yes.
It's a system. It's just something that's part of my day. It's who I am. It's going to happen. I have to make an effort to stop the system. The system goes on by itself. If I need a break from the system, I have to be intentional about, okay, I need to not train today because I need the rest. But in terms of stuff like staying on top of the little things like with social media or business, those things, I will never, ever stop those systems. I don't want those systems to stop because the longer they exist, the easier they become.
So then I guess the question for Konecki is, Michael, so you're not a 4 a.m.er, you're a 7:30, 6 a.m., depending on when your young boy gets up. Dudes, and this question with all the respect, so don't take it inappropriate, don't take it without respect. Does your day happen by accident with success, Michael, or does your day happen with structure and success, but through your way of doing it? And what I mean by that is that you get up, your day happens, it activates, and it ends. And from your point of view, you're like, yeah, that's really successful. I don't need to have this whole thing of structure. I have my non-negotiables and that's good enough for me. Am I characterizing that properly for you?
I would say yes. I wouldn't say it's an accident because I still have a calendar and my calendar is jam-packed. So I can't say that it's an accident. That's why I believe there's people I know that don't believe in calendars. For me, anything to do with me. And by the way, I do have a system. It's crazy, but it's also interesting. If my wife goes to me, hey, how's it get some Cheerios? I'm like, put it in the calendar. So every single thing that we have, like we'll be driving and my wife will be like, hey, I told you about this. And I just put my phone up. I go, where? So she'll be like, I'm like, so what I've done is I've synced my personal and business calendars. So whenever she sends me a reminder of anything, it could be the dumbest thing, getting my haircut at 3:00. Okay, boom, it goes into my calendar. And now it's my work calendar.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I decide if it's a maybe, a yes, or a no, depending. But that's my system. It's the calendar because so many people now are trying to get on my calendar and trying to speak to me that when I look at my calendar throughout the day, what ends up happening is my system is characterized by the things that I know I have to do, but all of the things not on the calendar, those are the things that I want to get to, but they're not like I have to get to them. And to me, that's why I wake up at 6 a.m. and go for a 3-4 mile walk because I'm like, okay, I got to think of something to write. I got to respond to things that I didn't do yesterday. And it does take up a lot of your time. LinkedIn is a monster of a thing that people think like, oh, it's social media. But if you're doing everything on it, then it becomes a massive big thing to do. It's crazy how many hours I spent doing it. And I don't think anybody understands how many hours you have to plan. So I'm telling people the same thing, put it in your calendar, 15 minutes, go engage. 2 hours later, 15 minutes, go engage because it will take up your time. That 15 minutes turns into an hour and you're like, what the hell just happened? Because you're engaging in conversation.
And brother, when you say nobody understands, that's fucking perfect because they're not doing what you're doing. Exactly what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly the fucking way. When people don't understand you, that means that you've separated yourself from them. And there's no bigger fucking compliment.
So that's the truth. And this is the kind of stats that I actually talk about on LinkedIn is it's the same thing like in life, right? How many people go to the gym? Everybody talks about 1%ers. LinkedIn is not a 1%er. LinkedIn is a 0.0001% because out of 1.1 billion, there's only 3 million active people on LinkedIn that are actually doing something about it. So out of 1 billion, just think about that. We're not even in the 1%. We're in the 0.0001%. So yes, you're absolutely right. You also prescribe yourself, like I'm dealing with people that are on different calendars, right? So I have people in China and Dubai and California, and those guys are waking up at their 7 a.m. I want to engage with Michael right now, but you know what time it is?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess it's 3 a.m. So I have to like separate because I'm somebody that will keep going. Like I won't shut off. I'll do it till 2 a.m. I'll wake up at 6 and I'll keep doing it. So for me, I have to force myself to shut this off because if I don't, I think that you could burn out massively.
Well, brother, I got to jump on that real quick. I so agree with you. I mean, what allows me, because I've had, I hate to say rigid, but most people to say that how I go about my life is pretty rigid. My schedule is what makes me. And I have these really hard stops. I'm up early. I'm up at 3:00. 5:30, I crush all day long, my workout business, whatever I got to do. 5:30, that's Terry time. That's my wife. And at that point, for the most part, I shut it down. And then by 7:00, The fucking phone is plugged in and turned over. The computer face is down. Nothing can penetrate me, recharging me for tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock so I can be the best again. And if I didn't have that, I would basically I'd burn myself for both sides so quickly, I wouldn't be able to do what I do for any length of time. And I've been doing this for fucking decades.
This is great dialogue, Johnny, Chris, Mike. This is exceptional conversation because Konecki, you're really opening up a can of worms around calendar, how much time we have. And I get frustrated with folks that don't grasp the value of time. And it's back to that bartender, which thinks they can squeeze 30 ounces out of a 26-ounce bottle, right? And great bartenders can. But the reality is only 24 hours in a day. There's no 25. And there's something's going to sacrifice along the way. So I like yourself, Michael, you take your calendar and you got to start plugging everything into it. And I would invite anybody who's struggling with their schedule, regardless if you're a 4 a.m. or a 7 a.m.er, is just do a week of planning your schedule and putting everything in it and then look back on it and recognize how much time you actually don't have. And what I would then say is put your non-negotiables in there. So A, yourself, and then B, your family and your partner. So if you put those non-negotiables in there and say, okay, so that's the Konecki's perspective, right? Michael's got himself, and he's got his son, he's got his wife, and then like, okay, so what kind of time do I have left over for the rest of the week? And when you do that, you quickly recognize how much time you actually don't have. So I think we're going to have to come back to this and continue this conversation. But before we do that, Michael, we got to keep the show going on here, brother. How can LinkedIn Nation, how can Business Athlete Nation, how can the world find you and get a piece of Michael Konecki from House of Bricks? You've been on the show a few times. Great dialogue today, brother. How can folks find you, Michael?
Please don't. I'm too busy already.
More engagement, more interaction.
I love it, man.
Don't engage with me, please, because I will respond. So I would appreciate if you don't find me, go find somebody more interesting. Now I'm going to sleep until 7 instead of waking up at 4. That is That's awesome. Michael Konecki is joining us here, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. Ken, good to see you here, brother. You come back again, and let's continue this conversation. Let's
keep kicking ass, man. I just want to say, keep up the good work. Keep kicking ass.
Yeah, I think we'll come back and continue this conversation on calendar planning. And Michael, we come back in a couple weeks. Let's talk about planning a calendar, what it looks like, because I think people will be surprised if we did an exercise and said, hey, do this and see what it looks like. I think a lot of folks would be surprised about how much time you actually don't have. So
actually, I will tell you the opposite. You actually do have a lot of time when you do that exercise, because 100 hours, I promise you, everyone is wasting 4 hours a day. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
4 hours.
You are absolutely right, brother. Good to see you, pal. Good to see you. All right,
Mike.
Hi, guys.